All right, I'm sitting on the sofa and I've got four little ratties with me. They would rather be in their cage, but I forced them to come out so I can try to make a video about the pros and cons of owning rats. So, here's Constantine. This is the one who's usually really into being held and petted and cradled like a baby, but right now he's nervous because he's outside his cage. But you can just sit on my lap. Okay, so pros of owning rats. They are very cute. Look at their little faces. Especially Dumbo rats, which is what's called when they have these ears that are a little lower on their heads. Uh, they have cute little whiskers and cute little noses and cute little yawns. And I know some people find the tails to be icky, but they're not. They do have hair on them. They're just short hairs instead of long hairs like the rest of their body. And they use the tails to balance when they're climbing on stuff, when they're being little acrobats. So they're useful. They can almost be prehensile. They'll like wrap around stuff and help them hold on when they're climbing. So, yes, rats as physical creatures are beautiful and adorable and deserving of love. Second pro of owning rats, they are very social, especially if you get ones that were raised well as babies. They want to be with humans. They want to be with other rats. They want to get to know you and spend time with you. You can teach rats tricks, although I really don't. That's never been something I've been interested in, but you certainly can if you'd like to. You can teach rats how to come when they're called, or fetch objects, or run through agility courses, all kinds of things. They're very smart. Smart as like a 2-year-old, I think, is how it's been assessed by scientists. They are very, very good little creatures. And okay, I should have actually written a script. I just thought I would sit down and just ramble at you for a while I pet rats, because that seemed like a fun thing to do. And I thought like everything would just come to me in the moment, but it's not. So anyway, I guess we can start going into some cons of owning rats. So one big con, but it could be a pro depending on how you look at it, is that they don't live very long. The average for a rat is about 2 to 3 years. Some live longer, of course. Many live much shorter lives. The con of that is that you'll grow to love them and it hurts when they pass away. The pro is that they're not as big of a commitment as like a dog or a cat. So if you only want to have a pet for a little while, and then you want to maybe take a break and go do something else for a while, that can be a relief to take a break from owning rats. I never have. Ever since I started keeping rats, I've never wanted to be without them, but that is certainly a possibility. Another con of owning rats is their teeth. They will chew on everything. They will ruin everything you love. Everything they can get their little teeth on, they will. And they will just chew and chew and chew and gnaw and gnaw and gnaw. But that's because they're rodents, and that's how rodents survive, is just having teeth that never stop growing. So, also, if they bite you, it can be very severe. I have been bitten by rats, but it was my fault. I got in the way of two rats who were fighting, and I should have used a towel to separate them, but I was like half asleep and I just reached my hand there and I got bit really bad. So that can happen. But again, if you're careful and if you take good care of your rats, you shouldn't get bitten. But they are very nasty. Their teeth, like the bottom pair, separate like this when they bite, so it sticks into the flesh and it can rip and tear, and it's very, very unpleasant. So that is a con of owning rats. But on the pro side, their little bodies are like basically sausages. They have these little legs and these long tails, and their teeth is really the only dangerous part of them. They won't claw and kick or anything like that. Their teeth are their only weapon, so of course they're nasty. It's the only weapon they have. So that is pro and con again, but mostly con is the teeth. They do have a funk to them. They have a stink, especially male rats. Male rats smell more than females, although they both have a bit of a pong. But it might be a bit controversial, but I control that by giving them enzymes in their water. It's a product called Biodor by Marshall Ferret, and I put like 8 pumps to every bottle of water, and that keeps the smell down for me. I started doing it because I was with my parents, and my dad really hated rats. He didn't want me to have them, so I did everything I could to keep the smell down. So yeah, but now I just kept doing it because I also appreciate not having to get used to the smell. Although it's really not that bad even without that. If you take good care of your rats and you clean their cage regularly, it's really, you'll get used to it, and it's not that bad. A lot of people complain about it, so but that is something to be aware of. If you get rats for the first time, you might be shocked by how much they smell, especially males. Another con of owning rats is they poop a lot. They do. They have little bodies with high metabolisms, and they eat and eat and eat, and they poop and poop and poop. So if you don't put enzymes in their water, that poop will stink. The rats themselves don't really smell that bad, but their poo and pee can get very stinky. Rats can be trained to use a litter box. I always try. I have litter box on every shelf of my cage, and they do poop in there, but I really don't know if they poop in it more than they do on the rest of the cage. Maybe a little, because the poop box is usually pretty full when I clean the cage. But there's plenty of poop outside the box too. So maybe there's just a couple of rats I have in particular who never use the litter box. I don't know. But yeah, you do need to clean their cage regularly. Their pee will build up and cause ammonia and make them sick. So you have to take proper care of your pet rats if you have pet rats. All right, another con is they can be kind of expensive. The initial purchase price is not that much. It used to be you could get rats at PetSmart and Petco for like $10. They don't carry rats anymore, those like big stores. And the reason I was told by store employees is that too many people were buying rats that were meant as pets and feeding them to reptiles. So I can't verify that. That's just what I was told. But you can still buy mice and hamsters at Petco, but you can't get rats anymore. So my rats now come from local breeders. As long as you find an ethical breeder, you can get very beautiful and very healthy rats who will have very pleasant lives and be well tamed. And that's what I've been doing. So now when I get from a breeder, adopting a rat can be like $30 to $50 for each rat. So not as expensive as a dog or cat, but still something to keep in mind when you're looking at getting rats is how much they may cost. Also, vet bills are very expensive. Rats do have a lot of medical problems, especially respiratory infections they're very prone to. So, if you want to be a good pet owner and take good care of your rats, you will end up spending a lot of money. I keep like a first aid chest in my house. I always have generic antibiotics on hand. And I have another video about that from earlier on my channel. So whenever I start hearing one of my rats wheezing or their lungs rattling, I start giving them antibiotics right away. That's a good idea if you keep rats, is to just have some first aid things like antibiotics and styptic powder for any wounds, things like that. Oh, they're just all up on my chest now. Okay. Yes, babies. I know you want to go back to your cage. You always want to go back to your cage. Let's see. What else can I think of? I should have written a script. Oh, okay. There are many other videos about pros and cons of rats on the internet. You can search YouTube and find as many as you want. And many of them are different than mine. This is just my silly rambles about owning rats. For more information, I highly suggest you check out the channel Shadow the Rat. She has a lot of very good information about rats and keeping them and the things they do and how to take care of them. Like, she has a whole video devoted on just what you should have in a rat first aid kit, for example. So I think that's about enough from me. I hope this was useful to you in some way.